Hello, welcome to the next 24-hour reading. I watched yesterday's reading and I really apologize about the equipment. I know this maybe even makes you a little seasick watching me try to hold this and talk. I am going to do my best to get some equipment today, though it is challenging. I do have some things ordered, but again, everything is really backed up getting into New York City. So those that are sticking with these readings, you are troopers, and I appreciate it. So what's going on with these cards? Well, I did my first spread, and it didn't seem as juicy as I expected based on yesterday's reading. So I did a Celtic cross on top of it, and I just want to point out some repeating cards. Page of Wands has come up here twice, as has the Seven of Wands. And, there's really not too different of a message in this Celtic cross than there is in the underlying spread, so we're going to stick with that. Again, I'm reading with the Victorian Romantic Tarot, and love these cards. Love my Rider-Waite too. I actually ordered this Rider-Waite from eBay. It was printed the year I was born and originally owned by someone in Sweden, although I have no Swedish connections. So let's get started. Again, these readings are focusing on 24 hours at a time, feeling that that's about as much as we can consume in general, as much as we maybe should be consuming in these times, and reading each line, looking and prompting you to maybe think about some questions of how you can best use these next 24 hours. Yesterday's reading was super crazy. Lots of symmetry, lots of repeating numbers and patterns. Still not sure what that means, other than maybe it was just yesterday. So we have the Page of Wands. This was at the center of the spread yesterday, the only court card in the spread yesterday. So it's showing up here, the very first card. So information. Page is a messenger. Wands are a fire energy. So there's some urgency around this message. It's also could be the beginning of an idea. And yesterday we saw a lot of tension between action and staying grounded, a lot of earth and a lot of fire energy. So back and forth between, repeating cards, different suits. So this idea or this information is still very much part of the story, trying to get more clues about what that's about. The Four of Wands, I sat here as I waited for my radiator to stop hissing and was really looking at this card because it's so different than what I'm used to reading the Four of Wands as, which is stability, happy home life, victory, 1111, sometimes a portal into a new beginning. But this card is a really different take. First of all, none of the characters are facing us, but they are like performers, right? They're like a troupe of some sort. And what this is saying to me is that we choose our family. One of the wonderful things as we grow up, as we get older, is that we realize our family of origin is important, but it's maybe not necessarily our chosen family. Our chosen family are those who, we spend every day with, maybe coworkers, maybe people in the neighborhood or our home, near our homes. So this is like this ragtag chosen family of performers together. It looks like erecting the fourth wand here, building a structure. So how are you building community differently, I guess would be the question I would ask myself. And is there information coming in that's allowing that to happen more readily? Because what we have here, the last card is, there's a lot of major arcana today, is the Hierophant. Now the Hierophant traditionally is read as sometimes, I actually typically read it as a doctor, quite honestly. If a Hierophant comes up, I'll ask questions about institutions, doctors, lawyers, teachers, courts, marriage. And actually the Four of Wands next to the Hierophant can often talk about a marriage and a home. But you'll see here, this is like a wise old man instructing his students. So it's about learning, it's about higher institutions of higher education. This simply may be information about, a lot of people most people are homeschooling right now for the first time. I guess the primary question I would prompt you to ask in this first line, how are you communicating differently? Who are you communicating with? Has your idea of community changed? And what have you learned in this process? Next line, the Seven of Wands. It came up twice. It came up in both the Celtic cross I did and here. The Devil and the Moon again. So two major arcana, minor arcana coming up here. This was the outcome card in the Celtic cross that I did. This is a really just straightforward representation of some traditional meanings of the Seven of Wands. Defensiveness, being on guard, valor, courage. Here's this dude facing down. These aren't just wands. These are wands with, weapons on the end. And he's completely ready. So in what ways have you shown courage? In what ways are you standing your ground? What are you standing your ground about? This guy's mustache. He's ready for a fight. And he's not afraid at all. The Devil. I definitely think, I'm going to do a little censorship here. I definitely think this card is about, just because I understand that anybody could come across these. I know it's silly, but I think YouTube cares. I think this is literally about physical connection. That maybe we're having to stand our ground about our boundaries around physical connections, whatever that might mean in your life. And I'm saying that primarily because, I was looking at it for quite a while before doing this reading. There's two Devil cards and two Lovers cards in this deck. And this Devil card is much more about the physical than the other Devil card in this deck. There's this serpentine figure, this kind of shadow side, and this like innocent looking woman looks like being seduced by this kind of shadow figure. And these peaches all over this tree that are kind of shiny. So there's something about physicality in this second line. And then the Moon. Why is the Moon bothering me here? It's essentially not wanting to give up any secrets. What is your secret? What do you feel defensive about in terms of physicality? What is it that you need in terms of standing your ground? I have to confess, this reading, these cards didn't make a lot of sense to me today. But I'm going to trust that somebody who comes across this needs to hear it. So, again, I did the Celtic cross to just kind of ensure that I was on the right path. I always ask the same question, which is, if there's someone who comes across this video or something for the collective to consider. Please show me. And, the cards were repeating. So someone needs to hear this. How are you feeling defensive? How are you feeling courageous about physical aspects of your life, physicality specifically, and what is hidden in yourself, and what are you discovering about those needs? Because the last line is really about anxiety and new ways of being. We have the Fool here. The Fool here is the very first card of the major arcana. And in this image, typically the Fool is about to walk blindly off a cliff. But in this image, you see it's really about this kind of circus performer. There's a lot of circus themes in this deck. This circus performer, awkwardly standing on one leg, holding one end of what looks like a banner of some sort that's off camera, off image, and he's being taught, right? It looks like he's learning this trick. So what are the new ways of, what are you learning? I know I've asked this a couple times in these videos, but the Fool here is about fresh starts. It's the very beginning of the kind of, the Fool's journey is the journey of the major arcana, learning, and this is the very beginning. So, and again, looks like a character learning a very new trick. So I'm going to come back to that because, and I love this card, the Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords is about anxiety, sleepless nights, worry, and what I love about this image of the Nine of Swords is it talks about what anxiety does to us, right? If we're staying in fear, if we are living in fear, we literally are blind to the dangers around, the actual dangers around us. So in this image, this woman is sleepwalking, it looks like, and doesn't have far to fall necessarily. It's hard to say, actually, now that I'm looking at it. But she's precariously perched on this ledge, eyes closed, sleepwalking. She hasn't been able to sleep, and actually putting herself in more danger because of this fear, because of this sleeplessness. I know I'll speak for myself, my schedule is completely screwed up with this 60 days now for me of sheltering in place. Days are nights and nights are days, and quite frankly, a lot of days I'm afraid. So how is that distorting the way I see the world and the way I experience the world? And am I actually seeing the real dangers, which may be, I'm not moving enough, I'm not eating right, I'm not communicating with people the way that I should, or engaging with my family of choice, or my actual family in the ways that I should. How does fear distort our vision? And then we have the Knight of Swords. This, again, to me, is talking about a little bit of courage, a little bit of ruthlessness, quite frankly, in this card. This guy's taking what he wants. I'm wondering out loud, this is really striking me now that I see this, is that, not all of us are safe in our homes right now. And I think about that quite often. What if you're in an abusive relationship and the place that you are meant to stay to be, quote, safe from this virus is the most unsafe place in the world for you? That's what's really kind of coming out to me in this reading, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because we've got this Fool, this desire to kind of want to strike out on our own or start something new, but not really having any idea how. And just these themes of, information coming in about our home, being tied, or again, Hierophant can often be the institute of marriage. feeling like we're having to defend ourselves in physical situations and that no one knows about it. The mood is hidden, wanting to strike out on our own, but being terrified. I'm not seeing a way to do that because we are, in many ways, dominated. This could just be about fear, but I think this is actually very, now that I'm saying it, very specific situation for someone who is maybe not safe in their home. I'm very sorry about that. I'm going to put in the comment section, if you're watching this from New York, there's a new number, a text that you can text. I know phone calls may be difficult. And I'll put some other resources up as well if home is not a safe place for you. Because we have the last card here is, again, the Hanged Man. And I'm reading this a little differently than I have in days past. I'm reading this more of suspense, like actual suspense, in conjunction with these other cards. Kind of waiting for the moment to pass, kind of almost frozen in fear is what I'm feeling in this. I was taught a long time ago that I have to say what I feel when I read, and I have to be honest with what I see when I read, or I will no longer be able to see. I can't sugarcoat. I can't. This is not what I expected to see today, and I have to say it does. I'm alone personally. I'm not really feeling this energy myself, so I'm trusting right now that someone needs to hear this. And again, I'll put some resources in the comment section or in the description below. And if you're home, whether it be with roommates or family, is not a safe place, and you're not really sure how to move on from it in the current environment, I'll do my best to put some resources down for you. And I'm going to stop there. Thank you for spending these moments with me. I hope this is helpful. I hope this gets to the right person. And enjoy your next 24 hours as best as you possibly can. Know that you are loved, and I'll talk to you soon.